Welcome to the Meta Business Innovation and Technology Podcast. Conversations with industry leaders on new trends and products that can grow your business. In today's episode, host Karen Tracy, Head of Industry for Retail, Fashion, and Luxury at Meta, discusses the evolving landscape of digital marketing with Megan Black, VP of Digital Marketing and Media at Sephora. Karen and Megan dive into the innovative strategies Sephora employs to balance conservatism with continuous evolution. They explore the impact of digital transformation, the role of AI in marketing, and how Sephora leverages creators to stay ahead in the fast-paced beauty industry. Join us for insights on future-proofing your business and driving performance in a rapidly changing market.
Well, hello, everyone. I am thrilled to be here today, recording with my friend Megan Black for Meta's Business Innovation and Technology podcast. Hi, Megan.
Hi, Karen. Great to be here.
So fun to be here. I wish we were together, but we'll do it this way. All good. So I am currently the head of industry in North America for retail, luxury, and fashion. And I've been working alongside Megan for most of my journey here at Meta. And it's been quite a ride. And Megan, I would love for you to introduce yourself and a little bit about what you do at Sephora.
Yes, of course. Hi, I'm Megan Black. I'm the Vice President of Digital Marketing and Media here at Sephora in the Americas. I have actually been here 8 years myself, so have been on quite an amazing journey with this company and with Meta. So part of my remit here, or I should say my entire remit here is in three major kind of areas of our marketing team. The first is our core media program. So that's all of our paid media, from everything that we do from top of funnel awareness, brand building work, to our performance engine that we'll talk a lot about, I know, today. And then also we have our newly launched, well, it's not so new anymore. It launched in 2022, but our retail media network. So the Sephora Media Network is also under my purview. And then the third pillar is our retention team. So if you think about our email, our SMS, and our push, like our mobile push strategies, that's my remit here at Sephora. And again, it's been quite a great journey, quite a great ride.
Well, thank you for the partnership. And I'm so excited to dive into all of the best in class work that you're doing. There's so much that others can really be inspired by in terms of what you've learned, the good and the bad, where we are today, and where we hope to go for the future together, especially as we're about to enter holiday. So here we go.
And what a holiday it's going to be.
For sure, for many reasons. So, just for anyone who isn't as familiar with Sephora as we are, living and breathing it every day, I just wanted the audience to understand what an incredibly innovative company this is, but also backed in a lot of conservatism as well, right? In terms of being very measured about how you make decisions, but always with an eye towards innovation and being a first mover. And I think if we think back to the early 90s when Sephora started the retail revolution that it did, like being the first to literally turn the counters around for consumers, that spirit has been part of everything you do and obviously translates into everything that you do in terms of digitizing the business and all of the journey that we've been through together there. Now to think that you're in 35 markets around the world and 3,000 points of sale and 30 e-commerce sites, it's been pretty incredible. And I thank you as a customer, and my kids do too. So thank you for that. I'm also just so impressed about how focused you've been about taking distinct channels out of the picture and really thinking from an omni-channel perspective with the customer in mind first, just removing all the friction. And I know we're going to talk a lot about that, the role that digital plays, obviously, and then the role AI will continue to play in making that relationship with your customer as frictionless and seamless as it could be. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
All right, so Megan, I want to start today by talking about this culture of innovation that Sephora has built over the year. I want you to first talk to us about how your team approaches this and how you protect a conservative brand like Sephora while continuing to evolve and adapt as you try new things.
Yeah. So I think the first is that our learning plan is always laddered to our overall business objectives. So first, we have a bit of a waterfall of a test design around, okay, like what is this hypothesis or what does this test help us answer? Is this scalable? Like how can we, if we achieve the answer to this test, is it something that we can like easily implement into our into our kind of core program? If we think about priorities, like does this answer or help us like get across something that is like a big question that we're trying to answer either in our channel or other business? So first it kind of has to meet those filters before we think about it a little bit more. Because to your point, we have a massive foundational kind of business that we need to ensure we continue to run. There are daily sales goals. There are daily new client goals. We have a pretty big engine there, and we need to keep that engine running pretty seamlessly. So we can't pull all the resources off of that to just, think about the future. But what we like is that we feel like we've reached this balance of kind of strategic bets versus bright shinies, So how do we make sure then we go through this filter to feel like, okay, this is something that hits against that strategic bet for us. So then once we get there, we identify, okay, what is a lo-fi way that we can like do this test or find this signal to then iterate on. So I think that's another core piece of protecting the conservatism is that we're not making these massive tests that are hundreds of thousands of dollars of, right off the bat. We're trying to do these lo-fi tests where, we can just take a small portion of audience, a small portion of our channel spend, and then we iterate from there. And so that's kind of the balance that we do to make sure that while we're always continuing to think about the future, we're still protecting that base, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, and protecting that base and securing that foundation is almost changing before our eyes too, which is interesting, right? When we think about all the rigor we through the years have put behind best practices, and then when we think about how quickly the digital ecosystem is shifting, it puts you and your team in an interesting spot when we think about tech and regulatory changes, and how you go about future proofing around that. I'd love to hear more from you there and how you approach dealing with all the curveballs that this industry continues to throw our way.
Yes. So the first is that we actually have, so in this testing culture, one of those kind of strategic pillars, if you will, we have is just exactly that, Karen. Like one of our pillars is always just like tech and legal. And we just don't know what it is. It's a bucket that we work really closely with our product and our tech teams to say, look, like this is truly the crystal ball. This is kind of truly the crystal ball lane. And we just need to leave this open for anything that comes down around cookie deprecation changes, to your point, consent, new laws around consent, and if we have to change some of our API work, age. There's a lot of work right now happening about age. So I would say that in this test and learn cycle, almost every single sprint we have, there's something related around privacy and regulatory changes. So right now we're doing a lot of work, I think it's 14 or 16 or 18. I mean, again, it changes how many states, right? But there's so many states now that have different versions of kind of privacy and kind of digital marketing laws on the table. And so we work really closely with our privacy team around, okay, like how are we thinking about age, kind of age opt-ins, age opt-ins, marketing consent rules, and how and so we're really working a lot on that as well. But I'd say we have a lane in this, and we know that almost every sprint or every cycle, we are going to just continue to have to adapt and manage to that.
Yeah, I think telling the story that we went through together actually around Apple's ATT is an interesting lesson learned, right? Or this coming to life, I should say, around the impact that had on performance and then how we worked back into a new best practice and a lot of being grounded in an AI.
That is a real world,
Yes.
very contextual example. Um, so I would say that things were really humming along for us between Sephora and Meta. We had spent a lot of time and effort, like we said, in this testing and iterative culture, and felt really good about where our program was. And then Apple introduces iOS 14.5. And we saw, it felt like overnight. I mean, it was the course of a few months, but it felt like overnight. It just completely upended our program with Meta. And so when we both felt it, it was, CPMs skyrocketed, performance started to degrade. And we really had to take a hard look together to say, okay, like this isn't just about like, building a CAPI or kind of reinforcing the signals that we do have. Like we need to think about some radical change here.
Yeah.
And so it was the summer of 2022. Our team sat down and did really a forensic accounting of our program. And what we figured out together was we had to radically change the structure of our program, right? So prior to 14.5, we had really gone niche, right? We had, a ton of different ad types, a ton of different ad accounts. Which was working for us. And when we think about the segmentation that we have with our first party data, and if we think about like just the different, like the thousands of different cohorts we have around our shopper community, right? We have our skincare engaged, we have our makeup engaged, we have our hair care engaged, right? And so and against that, we also had, obviously like we had multiple creative types against those, and we just had to blow it up. And so we went through, part of most of the end of the summer, really, really just streamlining. And we cut all of our, the number of ad accounts to a third. We got rid of 70% of our ad accounts. We cut drastically back on the number of ads because we realized the algorithm just was, none of it had enough data at this point to make it was just peanut buttering, right? And we really had to make a concerted effort to create bigger cohorts and, give it almost candidly less data, but that it could then learn faster. And it worked. And so we really, after we did all that, we really, really culled it down. We saw an immediate change for our holiday program, which was amazing. And I would say since then, we've been on a really great trajectory. But I would say the lesson there was that it was hard because we had spent so much time and effort and years building that program to be so fine-tuned that it was. And we basically had to bless it and release it and realize that what got us here was not going to get us to the future. And that's hard. That's hard for people who spend hours and hours, spend years of their lives building the program. So, but it was nice to see that then the performance was rewarded. So I think that was a great lesson in learning for all of us, and a reminder that, we just know that like what got us here is not going to get us potentially to the future.
Yeah, and look, and that's because you have all this rigor behind your learning plan, the test and learn and
Mm,
how to do that, and you were able to lean into our AI automated solutions to take advantage of these
that's right.
performance gains and the ability to do exactly what you said, to be
That's
more
right.
performant with less granular data.
That's
That
right.
is what the AI is doing in such an impactful way. But you're right. I think this years of how we've been trained to think about cohorts and segmentation and targeting has so massively and fundamentally shifted that those who could like let that go, lean into this disruption that's happening and understand what this new set of best practices look like are winning. And you're one of them. Not only in the way you're thinking about your campaign creation flow, but also how you're thinking about creative itself.
Yes. Yes.
Right? It's like we often say creative is the new targeting versus us manually trying to like fit what creative do we think goes with our makeup segment, right? And I think you've beautifully been able to pivot there and would love to talk about how you put creators to work to do this on your behave. It's all on your behalf. It's almost like you need a supply chain of creative to do this well, right? To fight fatigue, to have enough diversity in the auction. Like we know that creative is um, one of the most important levers you have now. And you're just really good at it. Talk to us about how you're thinking about
Oh my
creative,
gosh.
what
Well, thank
video creators, your squad, like all of it.
yeah, I can totally. And thank you for that compliment because I think we always feel like we could be doing so much better with our creative sourcing. But thank you for that. And you're absolutely right. Like back to this, it just feels like the marketing cycle is just getting faster and faster and faster. And not too long ago, we were like, okay, a year ahead, here's our campaigns, and we're going to refresh it quarterly. And there was, and that is the day, those days are long, long gone. I mean, now it's like a piece of creative and social can be considered old and crusty in like 2, 3 weeks once that trend is kind of over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're really trying hard to stay relevant. I mean, um, Gen Z obviously has upended this, and Gen Z is a massive part of our, our business and our future. So how we've thought about that is a couple different ways. The first is that, you're right. So we have the squad. So, but let me actually, before I talk about the squad, let me actually back up. So I think for those of you who know Sephora, we are actually part of LVMH. And so we have this luxury beauty background, and we still are. We are a prestige beauty retailer. And what comes with that sometimes is a legacy of beautiful, glossy, very, very editorialized, beautiful content, which is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Um, but that also ended up not serving us so much anymore. And the younger consumers, the Gen Zs, are like, we want more. That doesn't feel authentic to them. They said that's beautiful, but I don't see myself there. And so it has been a lot of discussion and work around moving from this beautiful shoot editorialized to giving a creator an iPhone
Yeah.
and talking about a product and setting that live. And so that's also been years in the making around testing and iterating and testing and iterating. Um, so now, though, I would say we have a really nice balance of those two things. We still absolutely have reasons and certain times of year we want that beautiful, beautiful edit stylized work. But now we're relying a lot more on our stable of creators.
Mhm.
And so I'll try to put my peer Brent Mitchell's hat on. So I work very closely with a colleague of mine named Brent Mitchell. He runs our organic social team in the squad. And so they're working a lot. And what the squad is, it is a cohort of, really diverse beauty enthusiasts. And when I say diverse, I mean from, where geography, their points of view, what type of beauty they're into, And it's really a really great program where then we also give them tools to, how to grow their following, how to work with brands. We give them kind of front door access to some of the new product launches, etc. But we're also using them a bit as a content farm. They're making some great content about our products, about Sephora, and there's this really great partnership we have now where back to this, I don't want to say lo-fi, but Bren and his team are putting this out on on social, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Reels, and seeing what's working. And so if they see something, if they see a certain creator or a certain piece of content from a creator working, they kind of call us and like, hey, this is popping. And what we'll do is we'll take that and we'll put some money behind it, or we'll move it into the program. And it's been really, really successful for us. So I would say that partnership and that process of having that squad has really been beneficial.
There's just so much there, right? Because we think about the importance of Reels right now. I think it's like 50% of time spent on the platform is now on Reels.
Yes.
Reels are an art form in their own right. Okay. And when you talk about Gen Z and younger customers and sort of sniffing out authenticity, they want to hear from creators, right? And they are masters at the platform. And they are expressing themselves in a way that is connecting with their audiences in very natural, authentic ways. And that is what is driving this like behavior and them driving to buy and shop from Sephora, right? I love the program we just did together called Dale 2.
Love it.
Which was Instagram actually sourcing Latinx creators on behalf of Sephora and us coming together to train them, to help them understand best practices and how to do really well on the platform. And I'm seeing so much of this content now starting to be published. And it's just incredible to see all the different point of views coming through. And I can't wait till we understand the results on this and the incremental audiences you reach as a result.
Totally. And I'm so glad you mentioned Dale too, because that's another example of, it really feels like a partnership between it's a three-legged partnership stool. It's like it's Sephora because we're empowering Latinx creators, we're giving them access, we're also supporting them. Meta, the same thing, right? And we're getting a lot of great content from these creators. And so it's really just a very great, flywheel that we've built with Meta and the Dale 2 program and those creators. And so much energy behind it. And the creators have been building a lot of great content. And you're right. Like, we're really excited about getting that off the ground and seeing where it can go too. It's just the start.
Exactly. Again, leaning into innovation. It's really, really cool to say. So I can't talk about creative without bringing up what I think will be a major game changer for holiday this year, which is Gen AI.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have built a lot of our Advantage Plus creative features right into Ads Manager now. So you can have variations of your copy and headlines. You can resize images. Would love to know where your head's at when I go back to protecting the business, conservatism, how you think about foundations and this sort of like North Star of innovation and where Gen AI for creative sits in there for you.
Well, I'm sure like most of your clients, this is something that nobody has a crystal ball on and everybody is trying to figure out. And I go back to, how we talked about some of the media testing. I'd say we're looking for what are some, lo-fi or like quick win ways that are low risk that we can start to test this type of innovation without being incredibly disruptive. An example of that being, to your point, resizing, color changing, copy testing.
Yeah.
These feel like areas that things that we're kind of already doing that we can just supercharge. Where I think we're continuing to have more discussion though is around, yeah, product usage, model usage, because as a third party retailer, we work with a lot of brands who have their own brand standards and own brand guidelines. So
Yeah.
it's really important that we continue to work to understand how we can use Gen AI and tools like that and still have those guardrails. But in the meantime, there are these kind of very low risk, um, lo-fi ways we can continue to test in areas where it's not the third rail, if you will, for the business or our brands.
Yeah, I think we baby step our way in and follow along how you've always done this, which is just like leave the data, right? Um, Test and learn, and like you said, all while protecting the brand that you've worked so hard to be at a
Yeah,
place where it is, and all of your other
and all
brands.
of our brands, I think that's important is that, Sephora, we are a brand, but we carry and we market hundreds of brands on behalf of our so there's that complexity. So exactly, lead with data, um tow our way into the water, show that data to our cross-functional friends, our brand friends, and just continue to kind of move up the ladder, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Speaking of the future, I know measurement and everything you're learning there has pointed you towards um, uncharted territories.
Hmm.
I think the work you're doing as a first mover in omni-channel
Hmm.
is a great example of that. And your advanced test and learn approaches. We are in very close partnership here as we think about the massive influence that digital has on in-store outcomes.
Yeah.
Would love to talk for you to talk about what you had to do to like break down those silos, think about true omni, and then shift your entire organization to really understand and believe that there is a way to drive these outcomes in stores, and stores are more important and powerful than ever. But there is this major, major influence that is happening through social, through our platforms, of course. How you're connecting those dots, how you're using measurement to prove that, and how you're thinking organizationally to set yourself up for success and truly be a first mover there for the entire retail industry.
Just
Easy, Megan,
no,
easy.
easy enough. No pressure. Yes. So this is something we are really proud of. It's been a multi-year journey
Yeah.
to move our business in a way where they think about our digital marketing as a true omni solution and a driver of omni business. I think probably for the majority of people who are listening or watching right now, they're like, well, of course, like it's not a linear transaction, right? But because of the digital signals and the signals we have for .com, right? It's just so easy to make that connection point around traffic and sales and new clients being driven to your online versus, this huge store retail component that you have as well. So there's a couple things we did. So the first is that, again, we started on a multi-year test and learn journey. So we basically started to run two concurrent financial models that showed basically the performance against our previous way, which is around the .com attribution as well as the omni, and we ran that for 2 years. So this is definitely not a like one test and we're out the door. This was a multi-year journey. And then within those years, we also did experimentations. So we continued to calibrate that higher level MMM model by doing experimentation within the platforms with Meta around like how are we doing around also like our omni things like buy online, pick up in store, and same day delivery, these true omni factors. Um, I would also say we had to spend a lot of time in fortifying our signals with your platform, right? So I believe we were the first mover on one Cappy. I believe. What's that?
Unified capping.
I believe we were a first mover on that, which really set us up as well from a signal perspective, so like a day-to-day signal perspective. And it took us 2 years. It took us 2 years to show concurrent data to our finance teams, our opcom teams, for them to finally say, you know what? You've shown it, you've proved us, let's do it. Look, for 2024, let's move there. And it has opened up for us so much opportunity now that we are truly able to optimize and invest in a way that that next best dollar is good for Sephora overall versus this has to drive a store sale. This has to drive a .com sale. I know it sounds simplistic, but has really opened up a lot. It has really opened a lot more flexibility and has actually helped us get even better with our performance. So
I'm so excited about it. While you're on the journey at Sephora, I've been on the journey at Meta, and it's so exciting to see this coming together. And I think we're just getting started in terms of the real impact that we can drive and validate.
we are, and I would say too, particularly this omni solutioning and everything from from the creative treatment to the targeting to the optimization to the readout is because, again, we are just this Gen Alpha, Gen Zalpha, Gen Z. They love our store. They love our stores. And we know that they just think about this whole world in a seamless way. They are glued to their phones. They're shopping on their phones while they're in the store. They're using them both simultaneously. And we just know that we can't think about our marketing differently either. We just have to be as seamless as they are. So
Correct. And your most valuable customer is this omni customer who's on your app, who's in your store, who's on your like they're just doing it all, and you're there for them no matter what. And you've had these omni-channel features like buy online, pick up in store, same day deliver, all of like you've just been ahead on all of that and prioritizing that as well. So you're really set up for success. But I think the thing that really set you up for success is Signal. You touched on Signal. You talked about Unified Cappy, how you went there fast. I often call it invisible innovation, because it's certainly not the bright, shiny, but leads to the bright and shiny results.
yeah,
You have a lot of things to prioritize with your tech and developer team. How do you get things like that prioritized? So that because this signal fidelity is key to all of this and getting the maximum impact out of all of this.
yeah.
How do you go about prioritizing that and thinking about that internally at Sephora?
Yep. So the first one is, I touched on it a little bit earlier when we were talking about, is that we did carve out just a little bit of my CapEx lane for it. And again, that took a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But we have just a little bit of our lane to say, look, there are going to be signal changes. There's going to be regulatory changes. We need to adapt quickly. It's going to be things like X. So at least we can size it.
Yep.
But that's only the first part of the battle. The second part of the battle is then actually, those resources could be deployed elsewhere at the moment, or, behind on other projects. So, it really just comes down, it sounds simplistic. It comes down to the business case. The minute we talk about the amount of investment and revenue associated to this tech, it goes straight to the top of our list. And so it's kind of going back to some basics around a business case.
Yep.
And also tying it back to, the overarching business solution, not just my marketing problem or my digital marketing problem, but how this actually impacts the business.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, that will help it get bumped up.
Amazing. I hope everyone is listening.
Good old-fashioned business cases. Just
Get it done before code freeze, everybody. It's go time.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think to wrap this up, I always like to end on looking into your own personal crystal ball and where you see all of this going in the next 6 to 12 months and your predictions for the future.
Well, it's going to be Karen. I'll see you in 6 to 12 months, and we'll see how. So I think there's three things that are on my mind, and I think on our mind as a company. The first is that I think this continued blending of brand and performance, right?
Mhm.
So the creator, like the creator world around the advertising, the blending of what we're doing in top of funnel with our performance marketing. I think the lines are going to continue to blur and continue to come together, and we're just going to think about it, I think, differently, both from targeting, creative, etc.
Yep.
The second one is definitely all the privacy pieces in market. Like it or not, Apple has a massive impact any decision they make in the industry. So I think it's just, how do we continue to keep, to your point, signal fidelity,
Mhm.
cookie fidelity is going to be incredibly important. And then the third one is that the death of the creator is not facts. We think that it's going to continue and evolve and change, but they are still the future, and it is so important, not just in our industry and beauty, but to our audiences, to Gen Z, to Gen Alpha. That's where they're getting all of their tips, their tricks, their authenticity. So we're going to continue to that's going to continue to not just be important, but be, I think, even more important over the next year.
I couldn't agree more. And my feed is full of all of that amazing content, and I love it. So keep it coming, Megan. Well, thank you so much. It has been such a privilege and pleasure to work with you, Megan, and all of your colleagues at Sephora. We love being in this tight partnership and figuring this all out together. And most importantly, what we're most proud of is the performance we continue to and the points we continue to put on the board for you. And let's go. It's go time. It's
It's go
holiday.
time. I was going to say, I'll echo that same with Karen. We just have so appreciated the partnership with our team, the strategy we've built together, and we're really excited to just continue this journey together, this partnership, and whatever gets thrown at us, Karen, for the next 12 months,
You've
we know
got
we're
it.
in good hands. So we're going to weather the storms together.
Exactly. And I'll be doing lots of shopping at Sephora for holiday. So you
Thank
can
you,
count on
everybody.
me.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Karen.
All
Great to
right.
see
Talk to you
you. Okay,
soon. You too.
bye.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode on the evolving landscape of digital marketing with our host, Karen Tracy, and our guest, Megan Black, VP of Digital Marketing and Media at Sephora. Remember to subscribe to our podcast to get notified whenever a new episode is released. And if you found this episode valuable, please leave us a 5-star review. And thank you for listening to the Meta Business Innovation and Technology Podcast.